there was a change to the schedule today. The presenter who was supposed to be in this room at 11 o'clock is sick today. So they asked us just to present our session twice. So we are going to be presenting now and again at 11 o'clock. So if you want to check your schedule and see if there is anything else that you would rather zip out to and come back here at 11, we will not be offended.
Yes,
we want you to get the best out of your time. So we've got the kindergarten sample phonics lesson going on, and there are several other choices. So if you want to come back, we're great with that.
Yeah, the planning assessment one is the one that's
Yeah.
canceled.
Yeah.
Yes.
She's sick today.
But you're doing this one.
So
Well,
yes.
yes.
Again, we're doing this one now at 10 o'clock, and we're also doing it at the 11th. That's what we're saying. If there's something else right now you want to do, kindergarten lesson or something, then we're just doing this one and with
Place
the
music.
okay. We will not be offended at all. We will not be offended. We understand.
Anything you need last minute? Consider support lines.
Yes, please
But
support
no,
us.
but yeah, just flag me.
Okay, thank you. Oh, come on.
Well, then I'm going to move this over.
There's a handout this morning that our city Cars is handing out. So if you guys don't have a handout, you can raise your hand and Cars will bring it by to you. All right, I'm going to open us up in prayer, then we'll go ahead and get started. So please pray with me this morning. God, we are so grateful to be back doing this. We are so thankful for all you've provided for us to be here, the doors you've opened for us to just come together again and learn more about you and how we can love your children through the means of academics. Bless us, Lord, this morning with open hearts and open minds for what you have for us. And I pray, Lord, for each speaker, God, that you would just use them to help people learn more about you and classical education. You are so good to us, Father, and we're grateful for all you've given us. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen. Amen.
Go ahead.
Here we go.
Well, my name is Lindsey Hood. I teach 4th grade here at School of the Ozarks. This is my 11th year teaching. I started off in public school teaching 6th grade. I taught for 6 years, and then I was blessed to come over here with the opportunity to teach 4th grade. So I've been here for 5 years, and I'm absolutely loving being part of the classical Christian world. So my background is a little bit of public education and a little bit of classical too. So
My name is Jessica Wright. I'm the first grade teacher here at School of the Ozarks. This is my 19th year teaching. I spent 16 years in public schools in Southwest Missouri, and then my children came to SofO the year that it opened. And so I first experienced classical Christian education as a parent, and the more I learned about it and then saw the differences between that and the public school, I knew that this is where I wanted to be, and so I came here. So this is my 3rd year here. I have a son who is a senior this year and a daughter who is a 7th grader, and Mrs. Hood has a kindergartner. So we have covered the full range as parents and then also as teachers. And so one of the reasons why we kind of talked about doing this session was we shared a lot of experiences from public school and how we worked with parents as public school teachers and the differences that we see working in a classical Christian setting and how special it is and how valuable it is to be able to bring in those parents and really tap into the resources that they. So if you want to look at your handout, the first thing that we have is a quote from our dean of the lab school. And every year at our parent orientation night, he reads this to our parents and talks about it with them. And so this really helps set the foundation for our culture. So I'll just read through that with you. It says, parents are primarily responsible for the education of their children. God does not give children to the government, to the school, or even to the church. God gives children to parents. And in reference to his ways, parents are instructed in Deuteronomy 6 to teach them diligently to your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house and when you walk along the way and when you lie down and when you rise. In Ephesians, fathers specifically are instructed to bring children up in the discipline and instruction of the Lord. That being said, parents who choose to partner with us for the academic training of their children are temporarily delegating their authority to the school during school hours. It is not proper for the school to usurp the authority of the parents, nor for the parents to abdicate their authority to the school. And so with that mindset, then we look into how do we interact with parents and partner with them to raise these children up in the fear and admonition of the Lord. So when I first started here, one of my biggest questions was about discipline. How do we handle discipline here? How do we do this as a teacher that's going to look different than in public school? And our assistant to the dean, who is here at the lower school, Dr. Scott McIlvain, handed me this book, Shepherding a Child's Heart. He put it in my hand and he said, this is what we do. And so I wanted to recommend this book to you. It's on the handout for you. And I believe 8th Day Books has brought some copies over in the Hook Center if you want to look at that. But in this book, Dr. Ted Tripp talks about how behavior comes from the overflow of the heart. And so we're not looking to do behavior modification. We're looking to do heart change. And so we want to work with our children to identify what is the sin that is happening inside your heart that is then causing this overflow into your words and your actions. And so discipline needs to be restorative. If your discipline issue has been caused by your sin, then we need to bring you back into right relationship with God and with others. And so we look at it kind of that way. Discipline is not meant to be punitive or punishment. It's how can we bring this child back into that right relationship? And so as we partner with our parents, we hope that that's the same mindset that they kind of have at home, and we talk about that in how we have worked with that child at school through a certain issue that they might have. Another book that I picked up that I really, I use not as much anymore, but used to, but I still could. It's called Parenting with Scripture, and this is also listed in your handout, and they also should have this next door if you want to look at that. But this is more of a topical guide, so if you have a child who is just really struggling with a certain issue, I have a sweet little one in my room this year that we have an issue with cheerfulness and having a good attitude about what we're doing. And if I hand out a paper, it's not, I have to do this again, And so we talk about cheerfulness. Here are like 6 different scriptures that address having a cheerful heart. And so for this little guy, we talk about a cheerful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones. So I always look at him and say, a cheerful heart is good medicine, So they're learning that scripture to kind of go along with some of the behaviors that we're seeing. So this is super helpful. It is, geared towards parents more, but it's a great tool, I think, to have in the classroom. And, super important to have some of these already memorized, ready to give. But if you have a break and you get a chance, you can sit down and look through that and find a scripture that would really speak to that student. So I'm going to pass these around. Do you want to start one that direction, and I'll start one, and then if you want to look through them or whatever. What's that?
I think so. Both.
I think we asked for both.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping that they have them
Yeah.
over there. I haven't had a chance to go to see them yet.
I think so.
So with those things in mind, then we have that mindset. We're working with kids through, with that lens. Then another vital part is giving our parents opportunities to come into the school, to be here. It's not drop them off at the door, pick them up at the end of the day. We want to ask parents to come in. So Lindsey's going to talk about some of those opportunities.
Yeah, so we have a ton of opportunities for our parents to be volunteers and be involved in what we're doing because we're partnering with them, right? We want them to be a part of our day and what we're doing and know what we're doing with their kiddos. And so one of the biggest things that we do, really the first thing that we do is make sure any parent that wants to volunteer, they kind of sign up for that, and then we make sure they get a background check. So Safety is of utmost importance. We want all of our kids and all of our parents to know that everyone's safe, right? Because sometimes we have amazing parents who will come in sometimes and say, I want to volunteer, I'm going to take your recess duty. You have extra plan time, I'm going to take your kids. So we're like, yes, that's great. Do you have a background check? I'll sign you up. How about tomorrow? So it's so important for us to make sure that any of our volunteers that's going to be working with inside the school or with our kids have a background check. And then the next few things you're going to see are just some examples of ways that we ask our parents to come in and volunteer and be part. So one thing we have is kind of like our PTA, we call POPs, Parents of Patriots. So in the upper school and the lower school both, we have one mom who's kind of over our Parents of Patriots. So this mom helps with organizing things. They help, there are go-between between kind of our parent volunteer system and the teachers. We talk to this mom, and then that mom relays the messages so nicely. So she's our organizer. She helps with school events. She helps organize who's going to set up, who's going to decorate, who's going to bring food, who's going to clean, who's going to provide this. Can they decorate this? Can they build a balloon arch? We have moms who are amazing at balloon arches, so we are looking for things all the time for balloon arches because they do such a great job. We actually, I think, still have 2 in our break room. So it's amazing. It's an amazing way for parents to have this organized way to volunteer. So they help plan our field day. Our Pops moms take over field day and say, we've got it covered. You guys just show up at this time, and they take care of it completely for us, which is amazing. We also have things called room moms. So most of us have 2 room moms, and that is just having 2 moms who the teacher and these moms work directly with. Again, kind of a sidestep to Pops. So for example, my room mom, I will text her and say, hey, I'm getting ready to do a science experiment, and I need 4 bags of Oreos. Could you find someone for me to volunteer for that? And she says, yes, I'll take care of it. You don't stress about it. What day and time do you need it? And so then she sends out the mass text that says, hey, who'd be willing to send in some Oreos for Mrs. Hood on this day? So she kind of takes care of things like that, which is such a blessing because our days are busy and we want to focus on our teaching and what we're doing with the kids in the classroom. So it's amazing to have these moms that want to help. They also help. They get to come on field trips with us. They get to do all sorts of things. So they help with any specific needs. Sometimes I've sent lamination home with kids. I'll send a baggie home and say, hey, I'll text the mom, hey, can you cut out this lamination? Yeah, sure, send it home with the kids. So it's awesome to have these room moms to be able to work from their home and also come into the classroom and help with needs as well. Another thing that we do is anytime we have like a holiday celebration, so one of our big things here is our Easter egg hunt. We do it every year. It's our annual thing. And again, the moms completely plan it. They plan everything. They set everything up on our playground, and they just kind of tell us when to show up and come have fun, and they oversee it, which is amazing. Do what?
It ends with the MTA.
Right, they totally, yeah, they'll even at the end of the event, they have the class sit down, they've provided a snack for them, and they share the gospel of the empty egg with them. So they have it all ready, and we get to sit back and watch and enjoy. It's beautiful. So we have parents, you guys have parents who are completely capable of doing this stuff and love it. They love being a part of what we're doing every day. And then the next thing that you'll see on there is we have what's called a 3C Friday. So it's Classical Christian Community Fridays. And we do that once a month where we do chapel. We invite homeschool families from the area to come in and enjoy our day. And after chapel, we come over to our building here, or sometimes in the Hook, and we have some kind of event plan. Like we had Narnia Day in January. So we had parents come in who they helped serve the snacks. They helped us with the different parts of the day, the different adventures that we have. They help welcome in any of the homeschool families. Hey, come on in. This is what we're doing. Here's the restroom. Here's the snacks. Here's the rotation schedule. They again just kind of help us with those things, which is amazing. So, and then there are a couple other things I'm gonna let Jess talk about.
Yeah, so another great opportunity is are your field trips. Parents love to come and travel with us, and it's great, especially at the lower grades, to have extra hands. So, don't be afraid to ask parents. A lot of parents, even if they work, would be willing to take a day off to come and be with you on your field trip. And we typically handpick our field trip chaperones purposefully, just because sometimes you've got, a group of more spirited children that need like a firm hand to just be with them, or you've got, a little guy or girl that's just just lacks some confidence and would be afraid in a new place. And so if you've got mom or dad there, it makes all the difference in the world. And so those are a great opportunity for them to come and get to experience time with their children. We also, at SofO, we offer after-school care for an hour. It's called enrichment time, where we have the students come in, work on their homework. When the homework's done, they can play games and things like that. And so we ask for parent volunteers to come in for something like that. So that's just an hour after school. They can usually find, especially if they have little ones at home or something, they might be able to have someone else watch them while they come in after school, and they can interact with the children that way. And then another way that we thought about was our summer reading program. We expect all of our students to do a certain number of minutes of reading over the summer. And so we have a parent who partners with one teacher. They go through and create a calendar, like a reading log for us. They get those all printed, all the directions, everything ready to send out. And so, one, it takes it off our plate from having to worry about that and getting that prepared at the end of the year when everything is crazy. And also, that mom has shown that she's got great buy-in to the summer reading, so she's going to do it. And so when other parents see that, they also buy in and know, okay, this is something we need to really be doing with our children. So those ideas that we've spoken about have been kind of school-wide opportunities for parents to volunteer, but I wanted to share with you all just some specific ways that we have parents involved per grade level. So whatever grade level you teach, you probably have fantastic ideas that we would love to hear even at the end too, if we have time to share. But I'll go ahead and talk about K through 3. Our kindergarten teacher brings in mystery readers, and she will ask every parent if they would like to come and be a mystery reader at some time. And so she'll schedule those in. They'll give her some clues about themselves, and she'll read those to the students, and the students are guessing all week, trying to figure out who that mystery reader might be. And then on Friday they show up, and it's a big surprise, and they're like a celebrity at that point when they've come in. And oftentimes she'll try to coordinate that with their student of the week so that the parents get to meet the class, and it's just a sweet time. And I love that for kindergarten because it really sets the tone as they're moving up through the grades, that they now know this class and they recognize them. In first grade, I do something called our monthly reading challenge. So we have a certain number of minutes per month that the students are expected to read outside of school with their parents. And for those who meet the goal of the number of minutes, they get to participate in a celebration. And so we are blessed in a unique setting that we have the campus, and we are able to travel throughout the campus. So we go to a different location each month and just have a little reading celebration. And at first I thought, okay, I have to plan all of this. I've got to plan the place. I've got to get a snack. I've got to get a helper and everything. And what I realized started to happen was if I just got the 3 names and I put those moms in contact with each other, they came up with fantastic ideas. They had activities. They had snacks. They just took it and ran with it. So it took so much from me, and then it also, they would talk amongst themselves about, well, this is what we did, and so the next ones want to plan something, equally as fun or exciting. And so that really is a great way that our families are very, interested in it, and then they help their children read because they want them to be a part of that. Our second grade teacher does a really special, sweet thing at Christmas time. She schedules a day in December for each family to come in if they'd like to and share a favorite Christmas story or book, and then they share one of their special family Christmas traditions. And so that family will come in. Sometimes I think they bring a little snack or something, but it's just a very sweet time to celebrate the holiday with them. And our third grade teacher, she takes a field trip up the hill to the Keeter Center to decorate Christmas cookies. And so you need lots of hands for that. So the parents always accompany for that. But also, she is very intentional about asking parents who have a specific talent or interest, something that they're very interested in, to come in and share that with the class. We had a parent that came in and spoke about something they were doing in history and had like a costume and all sorts of fun things. And so she just really will pull them in to tie into whatever the students are studying at that time. And Lindsay's going to talk more about our upper elementary grades.
Yeah, so 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, the older they get, we still have parent involvement. We still feel like it's super important even with the older kids. So one thing, or a couple things I do with 4th grade is, I haven't so much with our COVID years, but one thing I do is astronomy experiments. So our astronomy lessons always have some kind of experiment at the end of them, or some kind of activity to display. So what I'll do is I'll have parents, hey, will you sign up for this lesson? Will you sign up for this lesson and come in and show this? Like, one's making a volcano, one's showing them how to use Play-Doh and make craters like the moon has. And I let the parents do that, and they love it. So they come in and they get to kind of take over and do those experiments with the kids, which is fun. And another thing I love having the parents come in and help with is our inventors project at the end. So in our history timeline, we learn about great inventions and inventors. And so I'll invite parents, hey, when it's your child's day to present their invention, come in and help them, or be their assistant. For example, last year I had one girl who, they have goats on their little farm, and she had invented this bottle feeding thing. I don't even know what to call it, display. It was amazing. But her parents were like, hey, can we just bring the goats in and show the kids how it's done? Absolutely, you can. So they loaded up their goats in the back of this van bus thing they had, and we had a little petting zoo and a bottle feeding thing out there, and it was awesome. And the parents were so involved, and they were letting the kids hold the baby goats and pet them, but also they were letting their child say, hey, this is how it works, and this is how we do it at home. So it was amazing. It was amazing for us. It was amazing for the kids. It was amazing for the parents to get to see the interactions too. So one of the ways our amazing 5th grade teacher involves our parents is she does Greek mythology stuff. So she does this really cool thing called Greek Olympics, and she has her parents plan that out, right? They pretty much plan all of it out. She has them plan the events and plan what they're going to do and things like that, and she gets to be a part of it and enjoy it, and just let our amazing parents just volunteer and kind of take over. So is there anything else to add to the parent involvement there?
Yeah, just field trips here, again, a little unique situation because we are on this college campus, but we take trips over to the biology lab and do dissections and things outside of college, and then parents will come and help.
Yeah.
A little stronger stuff.
Yes. Yes, that will not be me when Brayden's in it. And then one of the examples in 6th grade, Mr. Lundeen has his families, whatever Bible lesson they're reading, whatever Bible story that they're reading, he asks them to read it at home with parents during the week. And then they come into the classroom ready to discuss things that them and their parents have discussed. So how is that not just beautiful partnership? They get to have these discussions with their families, talk about it in the classroom, then go back home and be like, oh, this is what we came up with together in class today. And so that's another really great way, is parents don't have to come into the building to partner with us. They can do it at home too, which is beautiful. So, and then something that we really love doing with our writing curriculum, we do Pro Gym. And so with our rough drafts, our 4th, 5th, and 6th grade teachers, we tell our kids to, hey, when you do your rough draft, take it home and have your parents read through it with you. Read through it with you, have them help you edit things, go through so that they can see what you're writing, how your writing is progressing, or whoa, there's some things there we need to work on. And that takes some parent training at the beginning of the year. With 4th grade, I say, hey, you don't have to fix every misspelled word. A big thing for 4th grade is I say, if it's written on whatever resource we have, if it's written in your notes, if it's written in our book that we're using, then it needs to be spelled correctly. If it's a spelling word, it needs to be spelled correctly. And I just talk to parents about that and say, this is what we expect. If you see that your student has missed a capital letter, you can remind them, hey, doesn't this need to be capitalized? And it creates a beautiful conversation with them. And then I'll get an email from a parent saying, is it okay that I did this? Or, did we do this correctly? And it's awesome. It spurs really good conversations with myself and the parent, and then also with myself and the kids too. And then they have such a great example of getting to see their kids writing and what they're doing. So we kind of all do that and allow our kids to take home their rough drafts and partner with parents with that. So I think,
Yep.
and the next thing.
Yeah, one resource that never occurred to me until like the last 3 years when I've been here at SofO, are grandparents. I think we always think parent, but grandparents are a gold mine of wisdom and creativity and things that they can do. A lot of them are retired, so they've got free time during the day. They don't have little ones at home to have to worry about, and they love coming in here. We are so blessed. We have 2 grandparents at SofO that are here on a daily basis, I think. And it's important to just kind of see where their strengths lie and where they feel willing to help. One of our grandparents runs our library. We don't have a librarian. We don't have time to take care of all the book check in, check out, everything. She comes in and that lady knows every book in our library, where it is, where it's been, who has it, the title, everything. And for our younger grades, she even will take them in for story time. She's like, let me take them for 30 minutes. You go do something you need to do. I'm like, yes. And then she's also, whenever she's not working with kids or doing the library, she's available. She'll say, do you have jobs for me? What do you have? Can I cut out some laminate for you? Can I staple some papers? If I have a student who's been absent and they need one-on-one help with a lesson making up, she loves it. And and the kids love it too. So she's a gem for us. And then we have another grandparent who is a former preschool teacher, taught preschool for years and years and years. And so her greatest love is to be in kindergarten. And she comes in and she'll run centers while our kindergarten teacher does assessments or things where she just needs some extra hands. And she also has a heart for struggling learners. And so she'll take some of our older students even who are reading more to kindergarten level and take them and read with them and practice with them and just do things that we don't have the hands or the time or, we're trying to attend to the other 20 in the class. And so those 2 ladies are just invaluable to us. They're so special. And so look around your school and see if there are grandparents that you could call in or you could, ask to come in and help. They're really special. I'm sorry, does somebody have a question? Are you good? Okay.
Oh, no.
Okay. Sorry, if anybody has a question, feel free to.
Yes.
Then she'd be more like smacking him like, come on, get together.
Yes,
Oh,
there,
okay.
there could be those.
But
Yes,
Yes,
there could be those.
that
so be
too.
careful.
Yes. So that kind of brings us to one of the most critical parts of parent partnership, which is communication. And we want to have communication open from day one. It needs to be 2-way communication. And so we just outlined a few ways that we communicate with parents. You probably do these things as well, but it's good to just think about how can we use these opportunities to grow these relationships. So face-to-face communication with parents. We have 2 big ones. Our parent orientation night, which every parent actually at SofO, and this is kudos to our administration for this, they are required to come. And if they don't come to parent orientation night, they are required to schedule an individual meeting with the dean to sit down and go over the things that were covered at orientation night. And so he always calls it repainting the post. We repaint the posts and go over things. And so it just helps to get all of our families back on that same page. And we have compiled I'm going to go back. After we meet in our whole school meeting, then the parents break out and go to their child's classroom. We usually have 2 sessions, so parents with multiple kids have to kind of divide and conquer and get around that way. But each teacher prepares a welcome packet for their parents. And so we have gathered just 3 samples. I think we have 1st, 2nd, and 4th grade. And we're just going to pass those around. And you're welcome to look through them, make notes for yourself if, I'd like to include that in my next year or whatever. And then we also have on some of the tables, there's a clipboard with a blue piece of paper. Any of the handouts that you see laying around the tables that we've passed around, if you would like emailed copies of those, we would be most happy to send those to you if you'll just list your name, email address, and then mark the boxes on what you would like. We'll try to get those handouts to you. Our second great opportunity for face-to-face communication is parent-teacher conference night or week. And so we ask both parents to come. It's not a, if they can't come, it's okay. But most kids will have both parents here. And we sit down and talk through, the great things that are happening with their child, the struggles or, challenges that we're having with their child, and just make sure that we're all on the same page, ready to go through the rest of the school year. And we want to be really intentional about the time that we spend with parents at parent-teacher conference. And so I think a lot of the work goes in ahead of time and planning. What do I want to say to every parent? What do I need to say to just this parent? How are they going to respond to me? How are they going to react? How are they going to accept this information and process through it? So we have put together a packet of things, and these are also on some of the tables, but it's on the cover is this super bright colored sheet. So you guys can, if you don't have one at your table, you might ask your neighbors if they can share. But we're also happy to email this out too. There are just some words that, like, you would have a problem with a child, but you don't want to say that to the parent because remember these are.
You may want to say it.
You may want to say it. But these are the children whom Jesus loves, and so we want to focus on the good things and how that could be, put into a positive, guided into a positive light.
Yes.
So we have some great things there. These are also good for comments, if you're writing the comments on the report card. And then we have, I'm going to go ahead and skip to this. Similar to that is a little packet. It just says character traits. And so if you notice that a child has some certain character traits, either positive or not so positive, it has, kind of a definition of that and what it is, and then a scripture to go with it to kind of support that child in growing towards the Lord in that character trait. And this is great. We use this. There's a lot of good things, and there even you get some bonus handwritten notes with that one too.
Yes. Question.
What do you do with, we'd love to have both of our parents attend conferences, but the reality of the situation is a lot of them, it's not possible because someone has to watch the kids or the other.
Yeah.
Sure.
What do you have a solution to that?
Yeah,
Do you guys do something for that?
We try to just kind of open our schedule. I know, we've met with parents at lunchtime before. We've met with parents at 7 o'clock in the morning. We stay till 7 or 8 o'clock at night that week. We just kind of all know we want the same thing happens with divorced families too, where they either don't want to meet together, which we still encourage that they do, but someone's they may say, Dad, I want to meet here, or I'm going to meet separate, but they both want to meet. So we try to just accommodate a schedule because we think it's so important that both parents are on the same page, not just mamas. And I know for a lot of us female teachers, it's way more comfortable to talk to the moms, right? But that doesn't mean we want to exclude dad from the educational process that's happening. We want them to be part of what we're doing too, and even be going further than that or backing up. We even want dads to come in and help with volunteering. So I think that's something is we take kind of that whole week. I've met with parents the week before conferences, the week after conferences. We've done even before after COVID stuff. We, hey, can we do a FaceTime meeting? Whatever it takes. We just try to be available and kind of open that conversation with, okay, if that doesn't work, what does work for you?
So you don't offer anything I know when I was in school, they had a book fair. The kids could go and be in the book fair while mom and dad were at a conference. So you guys don't have any suggestions?
That's a great idea. No, we currently don't have anything for that. But if it's just a younger sibling, typically, I will say just bring them on in. They can color on my whiteboard. They can read a book. They can play with blocks on the floor. I don't care. I'll drag out anything out of my cabinet to keep them entertained so I can talk with mom and dad. And then if they're school-age kids, probably first, second, or above, we put a basket of books out in the hallway and some chairs and just say, okay, we expect you to sit here and read quietly while mom and daddy are in here talking to us. And that has worked so far for us. I mean, we've had a pretty good time. But, like Lindsey was saying, we'll meet as early, late as you need, try to accommodate them. And sometimes they just say, the only time I could come is Thursday at 2:17. Then you say, I'll be there at 2:17. And we'll find somebody to cover our class for a minute if that's what we need to do. So
You just make it work
As
somehow,
much as possible.
So
Yeah.
you kind of roll that out to the parents at parent orientation. I mean, like you present this expectation to them. So at the beginning of the year, like this is what we would love to see happen as an expectation.
I don't know if he really
How do
does.
they-
I mean, I think it's just.
We do as
I
teachers
think they do.
individually.
As teachers, we do present that expectation that we expect you to be here, and I think our kindergarten teacher does a great job of setting that example in the very beginning. We need you to both be here, and I think our administration does a great job, with the emails and correspondence that they send out to schedule, and they will say, our hours for conferences are da 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 da, but then most of the parents know that includes the entire week.
Yeah.
Before, after, plan time, lunch, whatever. And
Yeah.
so I think it's something if you can kind of build that culture just in your school so it's just a
Yeah.
known thing.
You know,
get
the
in
other
there.
thing to think about too with conferences is this is what we talk about is no parent should be coming into your conference surprised at what you're about to say. And that's like we schedule our conferences, they're 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And so they come in and they even we send progress reports home, blank ones, and as a student and a parent, they have to go on RenWeb. They sit down together, they fill out their grades together, they have a conversation, they talk about what can I improve on. The parent leaves a comment, they bring it in with them to conferences and say, hey, here's what my child has said at home, here's how I feel. And so then we have this mutual conversation together too. So it's beautiful. That's another thing coming from public school to hear the conferences. Like we look forward to them. We love them because we get to sit with the parents and not like through the car line like, hey, it was a really good day today. Someone forgot their shoes at Kelsey tomorrow, as they're driving by. But we get to actually have this 15-minute scheduled face-to-face like, okay, remember what I talked to you about 2 weeks ago? They've improved. It's gotten better. And it's just a really great time for us to talk about stuff that really we've already hashed out and talked about before.
So I have a question about
Yeah.
the parent orientation.
Yes.
So you said there's a required B meeting after. What if they don't make it to that?
That's the before. So we meet over in the Hope Center where we were for the plenary. That starts at 6 o'clock or whatever, and that's the one everyone has to come to. Yeah, if they don't, our dean will be on the phone, or he'll say ahead of time, if you can't make this day, we understand, but you need to call my office and schedule an appointment with me to come in and sit down.
And what if they don't do that?
They
He tracks
do.
them down.
Yeah. He tracks them down and they do.
But they do.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
Typically they're pretty.
Now, if it's a parent who's been here for 5 years and we know their family and that we know that they know the mission, the vision, and that they partner and they support and they're all in, then it's one of those things like, hey, there's really nothing new going on this year. Do you have questions for us? If not, that's okay. Make sure you touch base with your teacher to know what's happening in 4th grade this year, and then we can move on from that. But for sure, if it's a new family or someone who's maybe only been here a year or two, then he's like, no, we're going to, again, what time works for you? And I'll make it work for our schedule. Yes. Yeah.
So he really helps us with that.
For
Thanks
sure.
For that question.
Yeah, good question.
So there were just a couple of other forms in that conference packet that you can look through that we use if those are helpful to you. And then aside from the face-to-face, the weekly, and we have the ongoing, all of our classes have Facebook pages that are private, just invited to the parents who are here.
And teachers.
And the teachers. The great thing about those is that we don't start them. The parents start them, and they start them in kindergarten, and they usually name it the class of like 2033 is who I have right now. And so the parents, we have 2 or 3 parent moderators, but then the teacher for that year can go on and post things, post pictures, stories, updates, whatever, and then that just travels with the class throughout the year. And so it's a great tool to look back to their memories and everything too to see that. Some teachers use the GroupMe app or group text to communicate with parents. That's easy because parents have their phones right there and you can get to them. Of course, emails. And then when we have an issue, a discipline issue with a child, we have 2 different pieces of correspondence that we could send home. In kindergarten through 2nd grade, we use a card system, the red or green, yellow, and red cards. And if a child has an issue, they flip the card to yellow. They just get this simple little yellow piece of paper to take home. And it just says, so-and-so had to flip his or her card today because please make sure you talk about this. And so this is something I can usually send home without making a phone call. I mean, I can if I need to, but it's not a big deal. And I explain this in my parent night. This is not a big deal. This is just a, hey, heads up, this happened. If they're talking about it, you'll want to know what's going on with that. And then for our grade levels, we have the official School of the Ozarks pink slip. This one has, what was the violation, what was the disciplinary action here. It goes home in triplicate, comes back, signed, goes to the dean, one goes to me, and one goes to the parent. And so this is more of this is a record, a discipline type record. But then if you want to talk about how you kind of do things differently in 4th through 6th, so.
Yeah, so with we use it kind of similarly, just to have that written record of like a discipline issue. But I think the biggest thing knowing with any of these is still the parents are going to be communicated to with what's going on. And with a pink slip, that's something that usually is like, hey, we need to talk to to Dr. Mack about that. This is, this is an issue that needs to be resolved. And we want to make sure the parents can see, they sign it, they return it. It's something that is noteworthy. So, but honestly, like I know most of us will say that if we send a pink slip home, I'm also sending a text message that says, hey, just a heads up on the playground today. Here's what happened. They're not going to get kicked out of school or anything, but I just want to let you know we had a pretty serious talk. Here's what happened. And they're gonna get a pink slip home. And one of the things that we like to ask with a pink slip is to the student, hey, this is so that to remind you that you and your mom and dad need to have a conversation about this when you get home. This is your reminder. So it's not really for parents necessarily, it's for the kids to say, ooh, I gotta remember to talk to mom and dad about this. So, and by that time, we've already texted or emailed saying, hey, here's what's happening. So, yeah.
Okay. And
What about HAS and newsletter?
Skip through HAS? Oh, I'm so sorry. I totally did skip right through that. So back our weekly updates, we have the homework assignment sheet, which is our HAS, which goes from kindergarten through 4th grade. And we have those little packets out too at your tables if you want to send those around.
Start like that.
And those are just our weekly communication with the parents to know what are the assignments we're doing in class, which of those assignments are homework, what do you need to be watching for at home, and then I usually include a little FYI or something, just upcoming events or something like that. And then as they get older, Mrs. Duncan usually at 5th grade starts to transition them into an assignment book where the students then are responsible for writing down their assignments. But she also sends a newsletter home just for those things that parents need to be watching for. And then our 6th grade teacher does, I believe, the assignment book as well, but then he also transitions them into checking RenWeb, so putting things on our online service for homework, grades, that kind of thing. And so preparing them for what's going to happen in junior high and high school.
And Holly, do you do stuff on RenWeb? You're kind of that in-betweener.
Yeah.
The 5th grade's kind of in between. Like if you look at the 4th grade HAS, it's still an HAS, but there's a lot less information on it, and we do a lot of like X's and O's, like, yes, I have this for homework. No, I don't have this for homework, and parents still sign it every night. So it's less about, here's what we're doing all day long. It's more about, it's just going to basically be like, this is what could be possible for homework tonight. And the kids have a lot of responsibility with it. And then Holly transitions into, you've got,
A lot of it's teaching them in 5th grade. When we
Yeah.
first started, we went from an HAS to nothing. As far as the kids having to
write everything down. Yeah.
we had them design just a simple
Yeah.
planner.
Yeah.
So this is their learning to take it off the homework box on the board.
Yeah.
And write it. And that's a skill to learn.
It
Right.
is.
Write that in, keep it organized. And I still have parents sign every
Yeah.
night.
Yeah.
And in 6th grade, he just puts everything up on
Yeah.
the board. He has this whole thing on the board, and it's the kid's responsibility to write it down.
Yeah.
He doesn't require a signature.
Right, and I
So
think
it's,
that's,
again, transitioning towards
yes.
It's a
and
release of
building responsibility.
Yeah.
We talk about that all the time. Sometimes it's really hard for parents to be like, no, they shouldn't be doing this on their own. Like, yes, they should. It's okay. They can do it. They can do it. So we really just start training them with those ways to be independent and responsible with their education process too. Like, they get to be a part of it. They're the ones being motivated to, hey, I can do this. I'm part of this process too. It's not just teacher and mom and dad. So it's a really good way to teach them responsibility and taking ownership of, here's what I have to do tonight. This is my responsibility to get my homework finished, completed on time, and turned in the next day.
But even with our kindergarten class at our school, like, my students are not allowed to tell me mom forgot the homework.
Yeah, right, exactly.
You forgot to turn read
Yeah,
the
it was
school,
your
and that's okay,
responsibility.
Sure.
That's
because
right.
you forgot.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, and that's
Starts really
okay.
young. It starts really
It
young.
does.
Teach them that.
Because they can
Absolutely.
do it.
Mhm.
Now, I have one child, and yes, he is my baby. So sometimes I'm like, oh no, I can do it. Oh no, I'll take care of it. But even Mrs. Howard's like, no, he can do this.
Mhm.
You know, he can carry his heavy backpack. He can carry his water bottle. He can even put his binder in his bag by himself. I mean, it's amazing what they can do, right? They can do it. And it's okay to have these expectations here, because then you as a teacher and a parent, you get to motivate them to say, oh, let me show you how it's done, because I know you can do it, right?
Yeah.
So it's
It's
beautiful.
amazing, like, we are associated with preschool, and our 2-year-old class is taught how to put their coats on.
Exactly, exactly.
You know, and so they
Yeah.
can do a lot more than you think they can.
Absolutely.
right. Yeah.
So true.
I think it's important though to make sure you taught the lessons on how to do it.
Yes.
Absolutely.
You can't
Oh,
just say,
yeah.
because you can do it, stick a coat on.
Exactly. How do you do it? Exactly.
The whole thing.
Yeah, those
All the
Training,
details.
the training of everything. That's what we say. Like sometimes we feel like the first quarter of school is just training, like training how to be a fourth grader, right? How do we do this? And then the rest of the year is so successful because we're trained. You can't just expect them to come in and just know. It's like walking into classical education. My first year, I had zero idea what I was doing, but I knew I wanted to do it. But so I was trained. We went through training upon training upon training, and are still training, right? You've got to be trained in the process, especially if you're going to put these high expectations in front of them.
Well, same thing with
Absolutely.
desk cleaning out, keeping a clean desk.
Yes.
Like how many times at home do we ask our kids to clean their room, but we've never really laid out the expectations.
Right.
Clean might mean shove it under the bed. And we'll clean
Exactly.
clean, but-
Yes.
So all that, even at home, there's so much parent training.
Oh,
I forget to do
absolutely.
that as a parent sometimes.
Absolutely. Don't you love being, those of you who are parents, don't you love being a parent and a teacher? When I became a mom, especially a mom of a kid in school now, I'm like, oh, this is why this happens. This is why this doesn't happen. I understand now. I get it. And it's so helpful. There's so much training on both sides. Yeah, for sure.
We had a question over here.
Yeah?
I was just thinking that's another reason you want to get the dad involved from the get-go.
Yeah.
Mamas are like, oh, it's my baby.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Grab that backpack.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Cheer up, Buttercup. Get out
Yes,
the door.
that's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And one of the opportunities that we found that our dads have really latched onto is field day. Because so many of
Yeah.
them are into that. It's outside, it's competitive, it's a sport, you know,
Yeah.
or whatever. And so oftentimes we'll have moms that kind of do the organizational part, but we'll have dads running the stations. And they see, and the kids love it too.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they think
Yeah.
it's great, and they get crazy and loud with the kids. And, you know,
Yes.
so that's a great thing to think about in bringing dads in. So we only have a few minutes left. And Lindsay's got some great things to share about working with parents of struggling learners. And so I'm going to let you go ahead and just talk
Yeah.
about that.
And with
for a
that,
while.
I think about that as it's not just struggling learners, it's learners who learn differently, learners who struggle, learners who may have a disability. Any of that, that is such an important parent-teacher relationship to have. We don't have, especially coming from the public school setting, we don't have a ton of students who struggle as much as like we did in public school. In public school, I was told, okay, well, when they're in your classroom, just, you know, let them just kind of be there, do whatever. And then if you have anything for them to do, just send them out. Just send them out to their reading specialty teacher. And I hated it because I never built, you know, you can't build relationships with those kids. So having these kids in your classroom who struggle is a blessing for you, for them, for their families, and for the other kids in your classroom. And so I have a few this year in my class, as my sweet Miss Tina knows. And so I was able to sit down with a mom of my class and say, can you have a conversation with me? Can you tell me, having a child who struggles with some learning disabilities and some struggles, can you tell me what you think about parent-teacher support and partnering together. And so we had this beautiful conversation. So some of these are my notes, and I'll probably have to cut it short. If I do, please come talk with me, not because I know it all, but because I have learned so much this year. I have learned so much having a child that struggles with many things. So one of the first things is that parent-teacher relationship. Communication from both sides is key with any child, right? You've got to be on constant communication with, especially these mamas who have kids who are really just struggling. They may have dyslexia, they may have some mental or physical disabilities, which is just gonna look a little bit different. So constantly communicating, and not just communicating of, hey, here's where we're struggling, but these victories and these successes, which then turn into some beautiful motivation for the child and the parents at home as well. Something that I have to remind myself of is this mom and I will say, okay, are you seeing this in the classroom? Because guess what he came home and did last night? And I'll say, yes, he started doing that because the person next to him encouraged him to do that. Or vice versa of, hey, did you notice he had a little bit of an attitude today? Can you tell me, are you seeing that? And oh my goodness, yes, it's every time you assign this kind of lesson, he gets an attitude about it. So having this conversation, this mom and I, we talk at least 3 times a week, if not more. We talk all the time just about what's going on at home, at school, and what we're learning from each other. So one thing that she was so certain that she wanted every parent and teacher to know and to remember is we are dealing with the whole person. And every student, we're dealing with the whole person. We're not just dealing with their academics or what they're learning. We're dealing with their heart and their mind. And she was like, think about it, Mrs. Hood, you have my baby from, for 9 hours of the day. You see him more than I do. And I know he struggles. So she's like, it has been so helpful knowing what's happening with him, because she's like, I worry about him. I worry about him during the day. So it's so helpful to communicate with you knowing, okay, he's making it through the day okay. We're doing well, so it's so important. And she gave me this quote. She's like, here's the thing. If there isn't a partnership with parent, teacher, administration, doctor, then how are we addressing the whole person? How do we know? How do I know if I don't know what happened last night to this child and they come in my classroom a mess and I just let it go or think it's a behavior issue, how am I going to deal with his heart when I think he just doesn't want to do math today, right? So it's so true getting to know these moms and dads and their heart for their child and what they know and what they're hoping to learn from you is so important. It's so important. The other thing I have is to just remember that the child is more than just the struggle. So it kind of goes back to that. They are a whole person. They are way more than just the struggle, the disability, the disorder. They are way more than that. They have been created by God, the creator of the universe, who made the sun, the moon, and the stars, right? Who made you to see well, to speak well, to learn easily, to walk well. The same God created them too. So they have so much potential to do exactly what God's created them to do. And it helps understand that and to see that when you and the parent are both aware of that and working together in that. Another thing is, sorry, I'm trying to book it through this here, even though I could talk about this forever, but I won't. The other thing is just to remember, I think we talk about this all the time, is the child was not given to us, the child was given to their parents. And so education is dependent on the parent. So having that parent, helping them to know, hey, here are some great ways how to help with the educational process at home if they don't already know, is so important. To say, hey, here are some tools that I see that are working really well with this kid in class. And I know you were just telling me that they're getting frustrated and unfocused at home. Here's what we do in class if you want to use this at home. The other great thing is I'm so fortunate with one of the moms that I work with. She is amazing. She works with her child so well. And so she'll tell me, hey, this is working at home, or this has worked in the past. Maybe try that. I know you were just telling me that he was struggling with this. At home, this is what works. Maybe try that. And oh my goodness, it's amazing. Because again, it's that shared partnership of what do we know about the whole child, right? The other thing that she really spoke on when we had this conversation is parent confidence. When you have a kid coming into your classroom, there are so many levels of the child's motivation, the confidence of the child, but also the confidence of the parents and what's going on. When a child comes into kindergarten, first, second grade, and we're starting to learn, like, there's just something not right. There's just something that's not clicking, or something's going on. There's just, at that point, kind of maybe some confusion going on. Not just for you, the teacher, but think about the parent, right? They're like, what is happening? This child is not acting like the others, or they're not learning this way, or there's something going on. We don't know what's happening yet, right? There's this confusion of what is happening and what do I do next? And so I think it's so important to remember, and this mom was telling me too, it's so important to remember that as teachers, we have this ability to motivate and to encourage the mom. Hey, that's okay. You don't have to know everything, but I'm willing to work with you to figure this out. Here's what we can do in school. Here's our next step. Here's a really good doctor I know you can call. We know doctors' names now. We know this Dr. Pierce is this amazing doctor that helps so many of our students locally. We know that there is a local school in town that the students that we feel like are struggling or maybe have processing issues or other things that, again, we're like, something's not clicking. We can say, hey, would you be comfortable if your child maybe would be tested to see exactly what's going on? Again, it's just this whole partnership of just working together and knowing more about the child than just, they struggle. This is going to be really hard to work with in class. It is beautiful. And she's the mom now that I'm like, hey, how's your mom doing? How's your family? How was your trip? You know, we've gotten to know each other so well because we talk to each other all the time. And it's just grown into this beautiful relationship between the mom and I, and also the child and I, because he knows mom and I are on the same page. He knows, oh, if I do this to Mrs. Ho, she's going to call my mom, right? And so it's so important. It's just so beneficial for everybody involved. So, you know, Dr. Mack knows what's happening in my classroom. The doctors that this family and other families go to, they know what's happening in my classroom. They've emailed me. I've given them information. Everybody knows. Everybody's on the same page. And it's so important to partner in that way. So beneficial. So that is one thing. It's just remind the parents to just keep going, that we may not have all the answers in kindergarten. We may not have all the answers in fourth grade. But there's always progression, right? There's always this progression. And what I tell my families that come into my classroom at the beginning of the year with learners who we know have been struggling for a little bit is I say, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to start with, I'm going to ask them to do some things that may be challenging to them. And we're just going to see where they are, because I want to challenge them and set this bar high. Again, I'm going to set the bar high even for those who may struggle with some things, who have some disabilities. I'm going to set the bar and I'm going to see what they can accomplish. And holy cow, it is amazing what they will do when they know someone believes that they can do it, right? So that they just don't think, mom and dad, they always say I can do this, but the teacher doesn't know or whatever. So it is so important for us to all just be that motivation for the student and the families. Just keep going. We can figure this out. We may not know the answers, right? We don't know all the answers, but man, we are willing, all of us, to figure it out and work together for the common good of the heart of that child. So again, I would love to talk more about that, but it is time to let you go.
Yeah.
There are some other things on there. If you guys have questions for us, we're here. Please come find us. Let us know. Feel free. Please sign up if you want anything that we've talked about or given you guys.
Or our email addresses are on the handout that we gave you to
The
take.
original handout.
So
yes.
if you just want to email and say, hey, I really liked the one thing, but I didn't get a chance to sign up, whatever, that's fine too. We'll be
Yeah.
happy to send out whatever we can.
Yeah. Thank you
Thank you
guys
all.
so much.
Yes, so
Thank
much.
you so very much.